Do you have 3 minutes to learn about stock splits? Over the last few years, some well-known companies have undergone stock splits. You may have heard about these stock splits, but do you understand what a stock split is and how it works? Before we go over how a stock split works, let's look at a well-known company that is engaged in a couple stock splits, Google. When Google went public in 2004, their IPO price per share was $85. If you were to look up the current stock price of Google, you would find one share currently valued at approximately $122 today. Not exactly the huge gains you may be expecting. However, that's not the case when you take into account Google's two stock splits. The most recent Google stock split took place on July 18, 2022, when they did a 20-for-1 split. When this occurred, shareholders received 20 shares in Google for every share they owned. If you had bought one share in Google for $85 in 2004 and still held that one share, you'd have around 40 shares today due to the two splits. The single $85 share would be worth just over $4,800 at today's stock price. Why is that? Let's look at how a stock split works to find out. Let's say Company X's stock price currently sits at $500 per share. The high price of these shares is limiting investment in the company, as many people cannot afford shares at that price. To increase the liquidity of its shares, Company X decides to do a 10-for-1 stock split. That means for every share a person owns, they will now own 10 shares. The price of a single share in Company X will drop to $50 per share. Here's how it would look if someone owned 10 shares before the stock split occurred. For the stock split, those 10 shares were worth $5,000. 10 shares times $500 per share equals $5,000. After the 10-for-1 stock split, the investor who previously owned 10 shares would now own 100 shares. The price of these shares is $50 per share, so the shareholdings are still worth $5,000. 100 shares times $50 per share equals $5,000. Now let's look back at our original example of Google. Google did a 2002 or 1,000 stock split in 2014 and a 20-for-1 stock split in 2022. If you owned one share prior to both stock splits, that share would have been split into 40 shares. Here's how the math on that works. You likely would not hold fractional shares, and would instead be paid out for these small amounts, leaving you with 40 shares. The key thing to remember when a stock split occurs is that while the outstanding number of shares changes, the overall value does not. You may have more shares after the split, but due to the change in value per share, the overall value of your holdings remains the same. And that's 3 minutes on stock splits. For more information on investing, please visit our website at nssc.novascotia.ca.